How serious is this, or do we even know yet?
We don't exactly know yet because CCSD hasn't given out a lot of information. There's been more information that has been breached from the alleged hackers at this point, saying we have this amount of information, and that's kind of all that we know at this point.
What can parents do right now to be proactive to protect their kids' identity going forward?
Since it is presumed right now that they have breached the actual personally identifying information of the children, because they would have the names, the addresses, phone numbers, and if they've gotten access to registration, they could have social security numbers. They can apply to all sorts of things because that's information used to identify yourself for financial institutions. So the best thing to do is to make sure that you lock up their credit institution account. So you should reach out to Equifax, TransUnion, and for a minor, you can just lock it. So any credit attempt that goes to request information for them, it'll be entirely blocked. And when they get older, you can unblock it as their adult parent, guardian, whatever you happen to be in relation to the child. And that's probably the best move you could do at this point, just to make sure that no one is taking that information and applying for a mortgage in a different state.
Or a credit card.
Or a credit card. You wouldn't know about it, and they would just do something, and when they go to apply for a car loan, a house payments, whatever they're trying to do at some point in the future, they might find out, oh, but you've already gotten a mortgage 20 years ago when you were 7.
Right, or student loans.
Or student loans.
Down the road.
Right.
Is this going to be a problem that these kids have to deal with for years, decades to come because of this, or will there be a certain time when they're free and clear?
So it all depends on if the hackers actually have that information, and then if they sell it on the black web to other people who then use it and successfully are able to do something with that information. So there's a 4-step process with some ifs, and ifs. And then it becomes to the point where if it actually does happen to one of these kids, or they could even have old records of students who've already graduated who are adults already. They might find out that someone has done something in their name, that they then have to work with all 3 of these credit monitoring agencies to say, that actually wasn't me, here's proof of this. And it takes a while to do, and sometimes you have to get lawyers involved. It can cost a lot of money.
Should other school districts and other universities, other educational institutions be concerned for what's happening here with the Clark County School District?
Certainly and definitely yes. So CCSD probably is a larger target because they did have weak passwords for years on the student side, and that was known. But they're also one of the largest school districts in the nation. So attackers like to get bang for their buck. They're not going to attack a school district that only has 20,000 students. There's hundreds of thousands of students here, so lots of potential targets. That means they can sell it for more money. So other places that are large could be targeted, probably maybe even with the same attack. It all depends on how they set up. Higher education's probably in a different boat because there's been laws passed for higher ed years ago saying stop using social security numbers. So any higher ed place has probably already gotten rid of that, so it's less likely to be breached by attackers.
You think we might see legislation like that for others, school districts now because of what happened here at CCSD?
So they're under the same obligation, but there's less burden placed upon them because they're not receiving financial aid dollars. And so they just get allotments through state and then through the Department of Education, and those monies flow. But it's not based upon it's based on other factors, not their cyber posture and stances and how they segregate their data. So could regulations be modified? Probably, and it's probably not the worst idea given an attack of this nature.
Would it have been more helpful if they had been more communicative with parents about what was happening?
That's what we've discovered over the years of having breaches. Breaches have been happening since 2006 with TJ Maxx. And so us on the consumer side, I've been breached, 8, 9, 10 different times. And we've discovered with time that it's just better to just be forthcoming and announce what you know. And it's okay to say, we don't know, or we can't say this because there's an investigation still. But being all cloak and daggers and saying we're not going to say anything has never flown well recently. And so it would just be simply better for them on the PR side to just be open and say, here's what's happened, here's what we know, here's what we can tell you, and here's some advice on what you should do.
And what does it tell you that the hackers are asking for a certain percentage of Superintendent Jara's salary as ransom?
I think, so a lot of hackers these days, it's a business for them. They're not this nefarious guy in a basement who's like trying to be evil and make things terrible and awful. It's organized people, probably in like a office park, something like this, in a different country where they can attack us and there's no legal ramifications. And so they just want to be paid. And they recognize that they're targeting a school district that's a government thing, so they don't have millions and millions floating around. So they're trying to say, hey, look, we're reasonable. You pay this guy a lot, pay us less than him, and we're gone. And you'll be done with us. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, and they're just trying to make it easy.
We'll see what happens going forward.
True.
Moody, thank you for coming in.